house flipping isn't what you think. I hate to, burst your bubble, but it really isn't like, I see a lot of like designers like getting like aspiring to be a house flipper, but that artistic designer person does not want to do the sales and marketing that is required for house flipping.
Mm-hmm. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Richer Geek. We have today Lauren Hardy. Lauren is the owner of This Mom Flips Wholesaling. And what she does is virtual investing in flipping houses. And what is unique is she invests out of state. So we're going to learn how she does that and why she does it. How you doing, Lauren?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing well. So we're starting out. Everyone knows or has heard of flipping houses. Okay,
Yeah.
That's kind of like where people start, and a lot of people have been very successful at it. Why? Number one, why flipping?
I kind of just fell into the business. I got into the business about 10 years ago. I was looking to kind of get out of the corporate world. I had just had my daughter and had another baby on the way. So I was starting to calculate the daycare costs and realize that I was not making enough money to really justify paying almost all my salary, to daycares. So I was kind of willing to do anything that would keep me at home. I didn't care. I even went as far as like calculating how much it would cost, like to replace my income, say if I were to keep my full-time job, but still play the daycare, like how much money would I need to make? And gosh, at that time, I think it was like $36,000. It was not very much. So I happened to be, talking at a barbecue with my brother and telling him, I just need to find something where I can work from home. And he said, you should do what I do. I was like, well, what do you even do? I never really paid attention to what he did, honestly. He's like, I flip houses, I buy them and I fix them up, I resell them. And I make a profit. I'm like, okay, well, tell me more. Like all he had to tell me is that I could do it from home and I could do it around my kids. So that's how I got my start. I got my start from my brother. Luckily, he mentored me on our first couple deals. We did them together and then I broke off and did them on my own. So that enabled me to be able to quit my full-time job, which was awesome. And gosh, fast forward 10 years later, I've done hundreds and hundreds of deals, flips, wholesales. Now I coach the business. And so it's been quite an experience.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing how some people, when they started in the flips, they think of the HGTV episodes, right? Everyone, that's where a lot of people get their start there. It's like, oh, they can do this in an hour and look how pretty it looks.
Yeah.
What's some of the things that you would say, oh my God, if I had to do this again? Some people they over fixed it, right? Before they flipped it. What are some of the lessons that you learned early on that you would say, oh, please do not do this?
Gosh, that is good. Okay. So with flipping specific, when it comes to like contractor type stuff, I guess you're asking, the biggest mistake I've ever made is giving a contractor too much money, in their first installment.
Oh, yeah.
So mistake number one is never give a contractor much more than maybe $5,000 to get a project started. And you want to know exactly where that money is going. Perhaps if it's for materials, try to pay for the materials, yourself. So that is a big mistake. I'm even going through contractor drama. You never stop going through contractor drama when you're doing rehabs. But if you don't know what you're doing, you could get in the hands of a contractor that's pretty shady. It's very easy to do. I've gotten in those hands many times. And they will start, the first sign is that they start coming up with, their family starts getting sick and the weather, and an employee's car doesn't work. Like use the same excuses. So like they start sounding very familiar and they start dragging the job on and then they start asking for more money. And that's when you know things are going really south with this person and you need to fire them quickly. Do not give them any more money. So I've lost money on flips because I've had contractors do stuff like that.
And when did you learn that? I've had some friends that did it, and they want to fix it as if they were going to live in it. Okay, granite and this, and I'm like, look, this isn't a Scottsdale $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 house. This is a blue collar, quit putting tile. And did you start to overfix them at all, or did from the beginning did you realize that laminate's fine?
Yeah. So yes and no. It's a slippery slope. So the more I would go to the property, the more I would add to the scope of work. So I learned to just not go to the property very often. I got very lucky where I did have some great contractors. So I'm only talking at first about the bad ones. But I have been very lucky that I have contractors that work specifically with investors. So I just tell them, do what you would normally do in a house like this for your other clients. And they will put in, their standard stuff that they put in all the homes that they do for investors. So that helps save a ton of money. And B, kind of stops you from that's if you're picking out everything that's in the bathroom, in the kitchen, it's a slippery slope. You're going to start spending more money than you need to because, the quartz this quartz looks better than this quartz, So that's actually been my the best thing that, I've found is kind of just going with go with a contractor that's experienced with house flippers that actively has investor clients that they work with right now and just go, what would you do? You pick it out and show me photos of your previous work and I'll just okay it. So they would send me photos of houses they've already done. And I'd say, okay, do the kitchen in the house on 5th Street, do the same bathroom that you did here. I would do stuff like that, and just let them do it. Cause again, the more you go in, the more you're going to add to that scope of work.
Yeah. Did you always do virtual or did you start, you say you're from SoCal area.
Yeah.
Did you start in the California, in SoCal, or have you always done virtual?
No. So I did start in Southern California. I started in 2012. So this was a different time. There were deals everywhere. There was plenty of discounted houses on the market that you could pick up and fix up and resell. So it was much easier to do it in my hometown. What happened for me is as the nation pulled itself out of the recession, real estate values in my specific area went up dramatically. Orange County is arguably, one of the most inflated markets in the country. It's one of them, and by about 2016, I was really having a difficult time finding flips. And I started getting scared going, okay, this is how I pay myself. This is my, every deal I get is maybe a salary part of think of it like your salary for the quarter. Right. So every deal I did, I was like, okay, I don't have my next quarter salary. That's the way you think about it. And so I looked around though. I have a bunch of friends in the industry all over the nation. And I was like, they don't seem to be having the same issues I am in Florida and Arizona and these other areas. Why can't I find a deal? This is crazy. Eventually I made the decision to just try to go out of state and make this work because otherwise I'm going to have to go back to my full-time job. So I went out of state. I first went to Nashville, Tennessee, because I thought it's cool. I had no other thought process behind it other than it sounded cool to visit. And I started building houses there because that's what people were doing there. That was the game. So I built I built 3 houses there, ground up construction. And I started wholesaling and in flipping a little bit in Nashville, but mainly wholesaling as I was building those homes. Nashville kept me busy for a couple years. Then Nashville, it was like the California effect. If anybody knows, Nashville was like one of the number 1 fastest growing real estate territories in for a while. So I was like, wait, I just left California to like be in another California. So I went from there. I chose an area. I chose Oklahoma City and Tulsa, Oklahoma, where, it was a little bit more stable growth. So now, I operate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and also Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
How do you find virtual houses?
Yeah. So we do a lot of direct to seller marketing. And I should say now my business is probably more 80% wholesaling. And what wholesaling is you get the property under contract and you sell it to another investor who's going to keep it as a rental or flip it.
Yep.
Easiest way to, to put that out there. So 80% of my business is wholesaling. Reason is that, being virtual, it is very hard to manage contractors. So, that's, it makes it a lot when you're wholesaling, you don't have to deal with the contractor stuff. But anyway, to find these properties, back to your question, we do a lot of direct to seller marketing as wholesalers. So I always say, that house flipping isn't what you think. I hate to, burst your bubble, but it really isn't like, I see a lot of like designers like getting like aspiring to be a house flipper. But that artistic designer person does not want to do the sales and marketing that is required for house flipping. To find the deal, you're going to have to do a lot of sales and marketing. So we are spending a lot of money in marketing, cold calling, text message blasting, TV commercials, and then you get the leads in and you have to make a lot of offers. I mean, we're making, 45 offers to get 1 deal, so yeah. So it's a lot of sales and marketing, a lot of moving pieces. But it's afforded me to be able to be at home with my kids. I have the work-life balance that I wanted, so I still feel, I feel very blessed.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. I think that's why most people pay attention to getting into real estate. You have 2 types of people. One that wants that work-life balance and replace their income. Then you have the other side that just wants the passive income and diversify their portfolio, and they have no intention of quitting. What would you tell someone, and this is maybe part of your coaching part, but what would you tell someone that says, hey, I want to start doing this full time. My job sucks. My boss sucks, or whatever, is going on, but they want that lifestyle, what would you tell someone that's looking to start getting into it?
I mean, I would definitely first warn them, that it's very sales and marketing. I have a lot of people that approach me, like saying, I'd love to do that. And they have no idea that it really is a sales and marketing business. And, so that's the first thing is like, how are you with sales and talking to a lot of people? And making, a lot of offers and following up, and if it's somebody who has a background in sales, then they're actually great. Like they're usually okay with it. But what I found is it is like the people that are like more of the designers, like, they're like, never mind. Like the creative types are like, nope, that's not what I want to get into. So, of course it's making sure this is a right fit for you. And you're realistic with what this business really is. And then the next thing is don't be afraid to get education. I think although I am biased, right? Like I have an education program, but the first thing I did was my brother handed me an education program that, because back in the day, these used to come in CDs. It didn't used to be like online. It used to be like a binder of CDs that you would put in your DVD or your CD player in your car when your car used to have a CD player. So that's what the first thing I did is I got a binder of CDs from this binder of CDs. So I don't know how I do not know how I would have figured out how to get my first deal if I didn't have that binder of CDs.
Yeah. And, that's an extremely important message, everybody, is, you can either spend your money by failing and learning, or you can just go ahead and spend the money and learn from a mentor. I did not start really succeeding in my business until I got mentors. I got business coaches, a head coach, because, some of the most important things is, and I think especially when you get going, is you want to start, you want to do it all, right? Because you maybe can't afford to do it. Hire people, but at some point you're gonna have to say, okay, I'm good at this. I need to hire someone to do all this other menial stuff in the marketing. You can still do this if you're not into marketing sales, but you're gonna have to find someone that's good at marketing and sales to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very good point that I always try to tell everyone is I didn't get to where I was today until I started educating myself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. So let's talk about the education part, the coaching part. What do you offer? What is your coaching?
Yeah. Program? So I coach, I have a coaching program called Virtual Investing Mastery, and it's essentially from A to Z, get you your first deal to your, I have students that have done, tens of, 10, 20, 30, 40 deals. But it is more directed to the beginner. I have, it teaches you how to get starting from zero, to get your first virtual wholesale deal. The whole idea is, how do you invest, or how do you, find properties, discounted properties? How do you complete a wholesale transaction without living there, without being able to just get in your car and drive to the property? How do you do that? So it's what I went through that I had to figure out on my own. I compiled that into 10 modules. That is an e-course, and it comes with coaching. I have a weekly coaching call where, you get that support, because, although these e-courses are great, you learn a ton from them. There is something about having someone that you can get, on a live call with and talk some details out. So I teach everything from seller marketing, how we get the deals, how do you talk to sellers, your scripts, how do you convince a seller to sign a contract when they've never met you in person? How do you transact after there? Like, what are all the contracts you use? And like, what do you do like from start to finish, the transaction coordination? So it's very comprehensive. And again, when I put the course together, I thought about all the mistakes that I made in the last 10 years. And I said, if just write down all the mistakes you've made and what, could you give to someone so they don't make those mistakes? So.
Yeah. And that's so valuable. It's like, I don't want people to have to do what I did, and lose the amount of money and the headaches and all of that. Yeah. Do you use any type of software at all to find houses, or do you just go out and mass mail?
Yeah. I mean, I use, we pull lists. My primary source for list pulling is PropStream. So if you guys go to propstream.com, that's where I'm getting my motivated seller list. In fact, on my YouTube channel, I have like live demos of me pulling lists. So if you go to Lauren Hardy on YouTube, you'll see some demos of that.
Yeah. PropStream's really good. We've used Property Radar.
Yes, I know the guys at Property Radar pretty well.
So, yeah. Aaron Lewis. For anybody that wants to listen to that, I'm going to plug another episode. If you go to episode 86 of the Richer Geek, you'll learn from Aaron Norris,
Aaron
all
Norris,
about
yeah.
Property Radar. And
can I share a funny story? Aaron Norris's dad was one of the first e-courses I ever got a hold of. So his was my second. I learned from one guy named Mike Cantu. His was Mike Cantu's was the first book of binder of CDs I got. And then Bruce Norris, who's Aaron's father, is the second one. So Aaron's father's a legend in our area. He's been around forever.
Wow. Yeah. You know, it's such a small world, isn't it? You know, it's just, so Lauren, where can people find you? If they're interested in the coaching, but just interested in a little more information about how to do things virtually. Because I think everyone knows how to do it in their neighborhood, you know, or in their own state, but where can people find you?
Yeah. So I usually direct everyone to my main website because that'll take you to kind of everything. So if you go to laurenhardyco.com, there is a link there for the coaching. If you are interested in the Virtual Investing Mastery program, I have some free tools on there, free wholesaling mini course. And then if you just want some free videos, if you're a big YouTuber, go to Lauren Hardy on YouTube. And I also have an Instagram account. That's This Mom Flips.
Perfect. LinkedIn?
I am not really active on LinkedIn. I'll be honest. It's pretty outdated if you go look at my LinkedIn. Yeah,
you know, that's, but everyone, it's Lauren is Lauren, Hardy, Hardy. And Lauren, has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on and being wonderful and teaching us all about a little bit about virtual house flipping and wholesaling.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode.